So post flocculation, the first point which we wanted to really see is whether there is in the solids whether the carbon COD levels increased, and we figured out that yeah, the COD levels increased to at least at 10,000 mg per liter, that is 10 gram per liters, which would be at least a very good amount of carbon, so that that can be converted into valuable products. So earlier, if I mentioned 1,000, that is wrong. We should consider to have at least say 10,000 should be our target mg per liter of COD. If that much amount of carbon is available, then we can do bioprocessing of that. So when we did the flocculation, what happened is the water gets divided into two parts. One is the clear water and another is the flocculated water. And when you do a domestic wastewater and you get both these fractions, we figured out that the flocculated solids are very rich in the carbon, or the CO2 has increased enormously. Now that is the source for us for doing the further bioprocessing. It's a very simple technique which worked actually in our case. So what we did is we took raw wastewater. This is done multiple times over last 2.5 3 years, wherein we take the raw wastewater and we add the flocculant in very low quantities. We optimized a flocculant formula, and that flocculant having natural compounds as well as some commercially available ones, they would lead to say clear supernatant of about 95%, and we get about 5 to 7% of flocculated solids, because you can see the flocculated solids would look something like that. Once we get that, the clear water can go for so that can be reached to the permissible limits, whereas this flocculated solids we subject it to the dark fermentation process or the bioprocessing using anaerobic digesters. And in the process we figured out, if we do a little bit of alkali hydrolysis to the flocculated solids, because flocks are very they come together because of the polymers and they clump together. Now we wanted to release a bit of the carbons present in them so that it is amenable to the microbes to enter to easily feed on them. So we figured out either we can do alkali hydrolysis for using very mild alkali, or even acid hydrolysis, or more recently we are looking into the ionic liquids. So some of those strategies started working for us. Once that process is done, we end up with substrate plus inoculum, whatever substrate is we got after the post hydrolysis, and you add one of the inoculum, which we mentioned it as a mixture of microbial consortia. It started yielding methane and hydrogen in the right proportions, so that we can get the hythane. So eventually we integrated this whole process at different scales, lab scale, 20 liters per day till 1,000 liters per day. So that is what we have been doing as a part of the imprint project. Now, is it like only carbon which is important, or do we also need to profile other important components? We figured out that we have to also look at other components, mainly the metal ions, so that downstream filtration can be effectively handled. And we did metal ion profiles pre and post flocculation of the, here I'm showing you the raw wastewater. So for that we use a technique called as SEM-EDAX, and that for a qualitative analysis. ICP-MS is ongoing so that we can get exact quantitative information. And we saw a range of elements. This is the elemental analysis. We saw a range of elements, including you can see some amount of lead is there, indium is there. So I'll present that as a comparative chart, and we did the same at different scales and figured out even the clear supernatant as well. We found there are several elements in them. On comparison between the raw wastewater and the clear supernatant, we found that there is a lot of magnesium as well as lead in both the cases. And indium is one of the, it's tin-like material, So it is also present in large quantities. This is from the IIT Mandi wastewater. So we have to facilitate some sort of targeted filtration in order to separate these out during in the downstream or tertiary post tertiary treatment before releasing the water into the environment back. So for this, we have a group of scientists here, Professor Sinha, who is an expert in membrane technology, as well as Dr. Rick. They are combinedly have come out recently with some filtration material, which they are testing currently. The preliminary tests and others looks very promising, whereas we wanted to specifically target for specific elements so that they can be separated out. Yeah. Now, having said that, we can do the COD and other nitrogen level, phosphate levels and others. It also makes sense to look whether our wastewater itself has got some other valuable compounds. Like say, maybe there is already naturally some lactic acid, polylactic acid, ethanol, succinate. Some of the valuable products may be present in this wastewater, or what kind of complex phytochemicals or other chemicals, organic molecules are present. In order to understand that, we adopted two more analytical platforms in order to analyze. One is the proton-based NMR, proton NMR. Another is the GCMS based methods. So both these analytical platforms were optimized, and eventually we figured out that if somebody is interested, we'll be happy to share these protocols. We did the screening of the small molecules, and we figured out that indeed there is like lactic acid which is available, acetic acid which is available, which is present in the domestic wastewater influent as well as in the bioflocculated solids. That means there are loads of organic carbon and some amount of nitrogen sources. Okay, so these gives us the confidence that in fact even the flocculated solids, which has got so much of this carbon based material like lactic acid, acetate, some sugars, 3 to 4 range. If you look at the 3 to 4, there are a lot of sugars are present. Whereas in the domestic wastewater, the amount of sugar is very low because of the dilution. So here we're just concentrated by the flocculation strategy, and there is enough sugars available. Now all we have to do is find those kind of microbes which can really feed onto them and targetedly do the fermentation to produce the targeted products. Whether the targeted products can be ethanol or targeted products can be various gases. So that is what this screening of the small molecules have really gave us an idea that in fact the biflocculated solids are a very good carbon based material with high COD and which can be used subsequently. And then we went ahead to look into very higher sensitive technique to figure out if there are more molecules which one can really identify. And so we adopted a GCMS based technique, as I already mentioned, and we see again a range of carbon molecules, organic molecules. In few of the runs, we also see some sort of drug molecules as well, which probably are due to which are being used in the community. So those are also can be tracked out. So in major cities, the crime who are looking for the drug usage or drug abuse, there are ways by which wastewater analysis can actually give us an idea about what is the drug abuse happening in a particular locality using these kind of techniques. We figured out that indeed there are a range of organic molecules against which we have to come out with such kind of consortia, where the consortia means a group of microbes together. They can combinedly sustain as well as eventually ferment these molecules. So that is the idea of doing the profiling. So in a nutshell, we understood that there are a range of molecules And on, I think there is a highlight. Yeah, on doing the flocculation, we found that the molecules gets concentrated in one of the in case of the flocculation, which is the green color, which is the raw wastewater and flocculated. So the increased in concentration, you can see the peak areas also increased like a lot in the flocculated compared to raw or the clear supernatant. So gave us enough confidence to go ahead and devise the ISTP. So I'll come to that that in a while. Just excuse me. Yeah. So what I didn't share here is, apart from the flocculation technique, there is another technique as well, where we have a chemistry, one of the OPIs in this, who have been doing the electroflocculation as another parallel method, which we have been investigating as well. So that I'm not presenting here, but we'll be happy to share some information if anybody is very keen on the electroflocculation and connect with the concerned PI. Now, you might be wondering, okay, it's so simple. We take the wastewater. We know that it is very cumbersome to handle. It has got a lot of very less amount of carbon with lot of smell and black water in it. So how do we handle this? Is it so easy to do that? In fact, we figured out that if we can carefully integrate the bioprocess with the engineering aspects, where we can design the reactor in a proper manner, it is possible to integrate both of it. So in order to reach that situation, what we figured out, what we thought is we would validate the whole proof of concept. So for that, we did some lab-based bioprocessing. You took the flocculated wastewater, and then flocculate all the flocculated solids, and then we did some alkali treatment, and then we incubated at say at various temperatures, some at room temperature, some at 37 degrees centigrade, and we over multiple cycles of feed changing, we started collecting the gases, and those gases are analyzed using a gas chromatography. And we eventually figure out whether there is a hydrogen and methane from the gases or not, because one of the goals of the project is towards the bioethane production. And see, this slide may be a bit overloaded, but still I'll try my best to simplify that. So before entering to see, we wanted a base mark. We needed to have a standard to compare against. So for that, what we did is we formulated a synthetic wastewater, which is almost similar carbon levels, like 10 gram per liter. And bioflocculated solids are also similar, about 8 to 9 or 10 gram per liter, depending on which batch to batch variation. We collected those, and we used a range of consortia. Some are from commercial, some are from our own sludge areas, which we collected. And we have a scientist currently who is doing a metagenomic analysis of these consortia from say aged sludge and so on, so that we understand and improvise, by doing some combinations of different microbes to come out with a efficient formulated consortia. So we do have some successfully figured out. Aged sludge currently is working very effectively, but we do need to do something called as treatments to them. When we do treatment of the sludge, like say heat treated or untreated, like we give a little bit of temperature, like 1 hour at say 80 to 90 degrees centigrade to the sludge, and then only most of the bacteria which are present in them might die off, but some sporulating bacteria, they will survive. And those are the ones which would actually feed on the either the synthetic wastewater or the bioflocculated solids, treated or untreated, and eventually they would release the gases. Now, when we did this experiment, to our not surprise, as we expected, we could actually found that there is sufficient amount of hydrogen as well as methane, which is produced by this. by this consortia in under both the synthetic wastewater as well as under the treated bioflocculated solids. Why I'm saying here treated? When we did only bioflocculated solids, we figured out the percentage of methane is not very high. Probably the microbes are not getting sufficient sufficient amenability, or because of the flocks are very big particles, they may not be getting access to various carbon molecules. So we have to disintegrate somehow or break down these bioflocks. So that is where we came out with the alkali treatment. So when we did the alkali treatment of the bioflocks, we figured out, you can see the red one, which is alkali biofloc. We figured out that it releases out so many carbons into the solution. So now that means the carbon molecules, and some of our experiments as a proof of concept have shown that these are the sort of experiments which we do at the lab scale, have shown that indeed both the methane as well as hydrogen are being produced by these flocculants which are treated, alkali treated, along with the activated sludge which we have been using as an inoculum. So we do a series of cycles so that you know, in a realistic wastewater treatment plant, it is a 24/7. So here as well, we do several cycles, like okay, 24 hours you do one cycle, collect all the gas, collect the sludge, replace the feed with new material, so that you know, the process continues. So we have been doing it over a series of cycles, and we figured out that there would be gases as well as there would be COD reduction, and we correlate all the parameters. So currently, some of the work which we are still ongoing, wherein we thought like we will further make a very randomized, statistically robust analysis. So we did like alkali treated and neutralized bioflocculated solids, and we are getting some of the outcomes from these experiments. So this is still some of the work is ongoing, whereas some of the leads does show that indeed the technology should work for us. Okay, so overall, to summarize from my side, is that you can see the domestic wastewater, it is very less in carbon. The CODs are too low. We have to increase it by at least, say, if it is like, say, 100, we may need to increase it to 10,000. So that would mean that you may need 1,000-fold of increase in the amount of carbon which is available. So for that, we came out with a method wherein we can use natural polymers which can act as a flocculating agent. And these polymers, if you add it within few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, or on a slow stirring, they will separate into clear water and flocculated solids. Now, this flocculated solids are rich in carbon, but not immediately accessible for microbial fermentation. So what we have to do, we have to do a little bit of this flocculated concentrate. We have to do some sort of pretreatment like alkali, acid, or ionic liquids, so that it will effectively do the separate out the flocks and make the carbon available to the microbes. And to that, you come out with a formulated inoculum, so that the microbes will, we know what is present in these wastewater. If at all the same thing has to be done elsewhere where there is textile industry or paper industry, then we have to formulate our inoculum accordingly, because there would be dyes and so on. So you may need to add a microbe which would eat the dye, which has got ability to do that. Or even you can use, if there is possibility of doing photosynthetic, you may use algal sources. So there are a range of inoculums which are possible. And then do the bioprocessing. We figured out the optimal pH for the biohydrogen is pH 7. 6 would lead to higher amount of methane but less hydrogen, whereas pH 7 is the ideal. We figured out that. So temperature also plays a role, and eventually we get different gases. And as Dr. Atul has rightly mentioned, these gases we do some sort of CO2 scrubbing, and then capture it for bottling and usage. So this is what our target is. As a proof of concept, we managed to come out with one aspect of the project, which is coming out with an ISTP, which is integrated sewage treatment plant, wherein existing sewage treatment plant can be to the existing sewage treatment plants in various cities or various community centers. What we can do is we can bring in this ISTP as one of the separate entity and add on to the existing facility, wherein you can have an anaerobic digester and a small unit for doing the flocculation and a small unit to do the alkali treatment, and then also capture the gases which are eventually being released for usage. So this ISTP as an efficient intervention for add-on to existing STPs, we thought like this is effectively working, and a patent application is in process for this. And what happens to the clear supernatant, which is like a larger chunk? It goes to the anoxic chamber, aerobic chamber, as well as some of the filtration, because it has got so much of metal ions and others, which we have to really purify, and the water can be either discharged or reused. Whereas what happens to the post anaerobic digestion, what happens to the sludge? This sludge is actually very rich source of nitrogen, and again, because microbes are there in that, rich source of carbon and nitrogen, and those we figured out can be used as a manure. So you can see the complete process is fulfilled here, wherein we don't end up with anything which is actually left over. So we can say this process may need a bit more of scaling up and proper evaluation, so that we can really yield value out of the whole process. So what are the major takeaways? Number one, for rational decisions of developing efficient wastewater processes, treatment processes, the profiling is really one of the aspects which is important. We have to understand what is present in the wastewater, and it varies from place to place. Some areas may be very highly polluted, some areas may be less polluted. So accordingly, you may need to understand the carbon load and devise your treatment process, how you can derive value out of it. We optimized the methodologies for doing that is a GCMS, NMR based, metal ion identification using SEMADX, ICP-MS, and so on. Whereas the second takeaway is that within the first takeaway, the wastewater is really complex with very low amount of carbon, COD, which is very low, and there are several other complex molecules. So in order to enhance or enrich, we came out with a strategy called as the flocculation strategy, which led us to develop ISTP for anaerobic digestion. And flocculation strategy involves natural polymers, which would really enhance the amount of carbon which is available. And finally, the whole process, the efficiency at which the hythane or targeted compounds can be produced is strictly dependent on the carbon source, as well as carbon composition and the microbial consortia which we use. So we figured out that we identified good sources of inoculum. Thankfully, within IIT Mandi sewage treatment plant, sludge is doing good at the moment. But my colleagues are coming out with new formulas of inoculum, having multiple microbes, enriched microbes in that, based on the targeted production, so that we can targetedly produce. So that is where we are doing metagenomic studies, and eventually we will end up with the formula of microbial consortia for targeted production of gases. So these are some of the major takeaways from the work. You can see myself being a biologist, I brought the wastewater profiling expertise, bioprocessing expertise into the whole wastewater profiling and generating value out of it. Okay, now I'll take only a couple of more minutes, given that an opportunity where I'm present to several faculty. I'd be interested to know what all are searching from natural flocculants from plant sources like moringa or mustard or cactus and so on. And I study metabolism mainly in plants as well as in microbes. And my main core interest is understanding their metabolic crosstalk. As another project, we have something called as Farmer Zone. Leave it for another day. And staying in Himachal, we do a lot of phytochemical analysis with the same techniques of NMR and GCMS. Whereas the today's project which we are dealing is the wastewater to Haithen, and I have an Indo-German project which where it's already completed, where we successfully came out with cellulose to valuables using synthetic microbial consortia. There we successfully came out with thermophilic and mesophilic organisms combinedly in order to generate a lot of ethanol and lactate. And here wastewater one I have just explained. Now all these projects are funded by the government sources. Some of the prototypes which we develop is the Haithen producer, which would be of interest, very related. This is the anaerobic digester here, and this is the flocculating tank. And there would be units which are completely controlled automatically by pumping systems, IoT and other stuff. My colleague Dr. Atul would show a video of that, I believe, or explain the Haithen producer prototype which we developed. And there are other prototypes, bioreactors and so on, which we used as a part of this project. So with that, from my side, I acknowledge Imprint mainly, along with the Ministry of MHRD and the Urban Affairs, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, who supported this Imprint project and funded us. And I also thank all my colleagues who helped, who have been participated in this particular project. And this is my team at IIT Mandi. We do host several faculty from other places, as well as several scholars who very often come and use our facilities and work with my team overall on various aspects of metabolism, including waste to valuables. Okay, with that, I thank and ask Dr. Atul to take over from here.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Syam. So you have already explained all the technological details. So for the sake of completeness, I will quickly summarize some of the tertiary treatment aspects. Just a second, I think. Yeah. Okay. So I will be trying to be brief so that we have enough time for some discussion questions. So that can be our takeaway from this presentation. So then Dr. Syam connected this story that how some concentrated part of the carbon can be taken for anaerobic treatment for hydrogen plus methane generation, and then what happens to this water. So then next part is to remove the metallic contamination which cannot be taken away from the water by biological treatment methods. So for that, in tertiary treatment methodology, so some of my colleagues, they are developing filters. They are nylon-based filters. They can simply filter the non-reactive metallic part of the impurities. And another aspect of wastewater treatment is remaining bacteria after biological treatment process. They needs to be disinfected So for that, glass-based disinfectants have been tested at material level. So though this graph is not capturing the actual performance, but as a summary, you can take away that in 60 minutes, they are ensuring 6 log reduction in the community of the microbes. So based on these two material interventions, one for development of non-woven filters for taking away the metals, and second one is the glass-based disinfection method. So efforts are underway to design filters and this disinfection device. So this is again the little loaded slide. So this part is showing how to test the effectiveness of any filter. So then multiple filters put in this length of the pipe. So here for testing the performance of any material for filtration efficiency, this filtration pressure is controlled, and for estimating for any desired level of the filtration, how many filter stacks are required. So multiple units are put here. So just to interpret, like it is showing that 70% filtration efficiency is achieved for removal of the copper-based nanoparticles that were taken as a benchmark for estimation of the filtration efficiency. But of course, actual trials need to be done on treated wastewater, which may have combination of metals. So what is the time taken by these filters to capture those metals? So that is still under testing. That data maybe sometimes later can be shared. So another aspect that just to purify the produced gas so that its combustion related properties improve. So at technological level, it means filtration of the CO2 component from the produced biogas. So this is again showing the lab scale testing of the some scrubbing material filled inside these filters. So like one example can be zeolite 13, and then testing what is the impact of the feeding pressure and required vacuum so that CO2 is effectively absorbed by this material, and same time methane and H2 are remaining in the output gas. So that for centralized implementation of this gas production strategy, there can be on-site enrichment and subsequent bottling of the produced biogas. So, yeah. So as I have said in the beginning, I would like to explain in little more detail in the remaining time what can be some alternate method of the water disinfection other than the UV. Okay, so this method I will quickly introduce. It is called locally enhanced electric field treatment method. So in which we can think that from small voltages that are less than say 5 volt, we can generate local electric field on wires which has especially textured surfaces, so that the electric field intensity can be in the range of kilovolt. So then advantage of this local enhancement of the electric field is that with very small consumption of the electricity, we have very high strength zones of the electric field. So then the next challenge remains that water flow needs to be channelized in such a way so that bacteria are coming to this enhanced electric field zones so that electrophoresis can kill those bacteria. So this method is being attempted to be implemented as a low energy consuming water disinfection method. So in the interest of time, okay, so 1 minute I will be devoting just for understanding what is the mechanism. So this is showing just half of a tube in which water is flowing. So then some especially textured copper wire is placed, and these dots, they are showing some bacteria cells that needs to be treated by electrophoresis. So then this inner core is textured in such a way so that there are locally enhanced electric fields, and if they are coming in contact, they can be treated or they can be inactivated. So then we need to calculate what flow rate and what time is needed for inactivation of the bacteria so that the flow in this treatment tube can be generated and they can come into contact in this enhanced electric field. Okay, and then again to summarize, as Dr. Syam was saying, I will show one video in which the current status of this plant is visible. Okay. Yeah. So let me play this video if it is. So can it be seen? And screen.
project number is 7801. We have fabricated a landscape prototype. So this is the first chamber, which is called equalization chamber. But before that, we are having a primary filtration unit. Raw waste water will enter into the primary filtration unit, and it has some small holes inside, and which has a capability to remove the coarse material which is present in the raw waste water. After that, water will enter to the equalization chamber, which will act as a sort of a storage tank, and water will enter into the flocculation chamber. This is the first basically chemical treatment that we are providing here. So we are adding a one commercially available flocculating agent to stabilize for separation of the suspended solids and dissolved solids. So those suspended solids will go to the anaerobic digester for the gas productions, and gas will be collected here with the help of a tender bag, and dissolved solids which are separated in the flocculation chamber called clear supernatant, that will go for the aerobic process.
So this video is visible?
Pipe. So this is the activator cell process. We are reducing the BOD here, and
yes, Professor.
after providing sufficient retention time, the water will be transported to the settling chamber, where we are providing some settling time, and after that the settled sludge that will be flow with the help of gravity to the aerobic chamber. Part of the sludge will be go to the aerobic chamber, and which will be act as a source of inoculum, and rest of the sludge we will be discarded. That can be used as a source of a fertilizer after some treatment. Then the effluent which will be separated in the settling chamber, that will flow to the anaerobic chamber. So there some facultative bacteria will be there, and after getting some sufficient retention time in anaerobic chamber, the water will flow to the tertiary treatment, which still needs to be incorporated in our system. So now let's have a look on the rear part of the system. So this is an automated system. Basically, we do not require any human interaction. So this is what we have fabricated so far, and you can see here. So basically, in our prototype, presently we are using two pumps. One is for the sludge recirculation in anaerobic digester, and second for the aerobic effluent transfer. But now we are trying to scale up this design for the 1000 liter per day, and we will try to operate the 1000 liter per day prototype in continuous mode, where we will try to minimize the usage of this one more effluent transfer pump. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. So I will stop here, and of course we can take on few questions. Yeah.
Thank you, professors, for your elaborative explanation on the treatment technology available in IIT campus, IIT Mandi campus, sponsored by the Indian government. So before the participants ask some questions, I would like to have two questions clarified from you, because we also have applied similar project to the ministry. Shall I ask, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. For setting up of this pilot plant, you have set it in your campus, is it, sir?
Yes, this is in the campus only, yes.
Do we have to get any clearance from the Pollution Control Board or your state Pollution Control Board? Because similar question was asked by us, asked by the ministry for us, but for which we couldn't answer properly. Though we approached the state Pollution Control Board, Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, they say that there are no such clarification, there are no such norms needed for setting up an academic institute. Is there any formalities there, sir? Can you comment on it?
No.
So
Yeah, Dr. Atul, please go ahead. You may stop sharing your screen.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so regarding your question, of course, like they are not worried about what we are doing at lab scale, but pollution control, they are only interested what is coming out as a effluent from our overall sector. Even for this setup, we haven't applied for any permission from them. Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is we don't need to, as long as everything is controlled, the input and output, and it is anyway the water is not released into the environment back. So these all are used for various testings and others. So once we scale up, we definitely need internal permissions and regular analysis reports, which we submit to the State Pollution Control Board.
Okay.
And IIT STP does keep a record of the water which is being released every day. So we have a small lab there as well, and we send the samples for third-party evaluations. So
Okay.
these all are part of this one. So we follow all the norms.
எனக்கு அவர் பேசும்போது கொஞ்சம் கூட மனசு குறுகுறுக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரியே இருக்கு. பேசும்போது பார்த்திருக்கேன் நம்ம செஞ்சு நம்ம நேர்மையா போன்லதான்.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, actually, ma'am, can I add it to your question, ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, actually, we have a environmental engineering in this main campus in Ananda University. So we have a pilot scale project actually. Okay. So wherein a real-time treatment of STP is being carried out. Real-time treatment. See, what you have seen it in this session is a laboratory scale. Okay.
Yes.
So laboratory scale, it is a setup. Okay. But in our campus, we have set up a real STP being implemented with a collaboration using L&T. Okay. So for that, you need a pollution control board permission. Yeah. So in case you wanted to set up in our institute in Trichy, then we need to have a pollution control board certificate. But for the laboratory mode, what sir has shown it in the slide, for that we don't need any certificate. I mean any license or any permissions from pollution. Hope this helps, sir.
Okay, but Vignesh, I shall be contacting you.
Sure, ma'am. Happy to assist you. Thank you.
Professor Shyam, I have one more question to ask. Am I audible, Professor?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Please. Yeah.
Professor Shyam or Atul can answer. Can you elaborate more about the imprint projects? And any similar projects are there so that participants can make use of it? Any calls are open? There is one call from DST, I think.
So precisely at this moment, I think this imprint call is not open. But
Okay.
Good thing is that it has been made very systematic annual exercise. So at least once in a year, and in sometimes even twice a year, it is like this call is open. And there now they have made it say more stringent. So industrial partners should be there, and same time industrial partner is committing some financial support. Along with that, you have to promise that whatsoever solution you are developing, it should go out from the lab. Means actual grassroots implementation should be shown in your plan. So if you are like fulfilling these criteria, so then you can pitch for this impacting research support scheme from DST. And now it is being, I think, managed by same project management portal of DST. So it is like SERB, Science and Engineering Research Board, same management portal is managing this. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Just to add to that, mainly they are not looking for any publications or other stuff, whereas they want either patentable outcomes with real field applications. Having said that, based on my experience, I can share that we don't need to really wait for the call address. I would rather encourage all my colleagues who are here, all the dynamic young faculty as well as experienced ones, to organize small, group meetings within themselves to identify what are the major challenges, either at local level or at the national or global level, and then bring the strengths onto the board, who is good in what, and form a team so that the team dynamic becomes very critical to this project. Even what one missing component. So I would really suggest that we don't need to wait for the call. Make the right team. Funds are something which can be with the startup ecosystem in India at the moment, and calls coming both national and abroad, international agencies. I'm sure, and water being, one of the, now we can call it as a commodity. In the next 20 to 30 years, there would be, people are saying that there would be wars for water. So we have to be well prepared with our technology.
Yes, you're right, Professor.
So I would just encourage that and crosstalk. Yeah.
Are there any questions from the participants?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Vignesh, you may ask any questions.
No, not. That is actually nice. Actually, the technology at the pilot scale level, but no questions technically.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Vignesh.
Sir, Professor, the participants, you can, their mail IDs of the research persons are available. You can share your queries to them through the mail also. Okay.
Yeah, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor, for sharing your experience with us and sparing your valuable time for us. Thank you very much. Yeah.
It's a pleasure to really be a part of this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Participants will be calling you later because of the next session schedule. We wind up now.
Sure.
You can, participants can mail for further queries. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then good luck ahead. Catch up with all of you later on.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Participants, you may join by 11:30.
Yeah, bro, speaking. I'm gonna put in. The mute, unmute are good. Live.